What is the secret to unlocking your full potential? What makes your idols any different than you? How do you become the person you've always wanted to be in life? This is where you get all of your questions answered. My name is Justin Shank, and I sit down with some of the most epic individuals who are changing the world with their actions in business and in life. We discuss how they did it, why they pushed themselves, and more importantly, how they were able to focus on continuous growth to achieve their dreams. Welcome to the Growth Now movement. This week, I sit down with Dr. Erin Haskell. Dr. Erin is the creator and host of Good Morning LaLa Land. She's been featured all over the place, from television to magazine covers and so on and so forth. She's the author of Awakening, a 40-day guide to unleashing your spiritual powers, life's purpose, and manifesting your dreams. Her mission is to awaken 1 billion people globally to their divinity while teaching them how to reprogram their subconscious, align with their personal truth and universal laws, and create a daily spiritual practice. In this episode, we talk about Dr. Erin's journey from being a 22-year-old holding her stillborn in her arms to creating a $1 million business by the age of 30, and then truly finding her abundance and her awakening in the spiritual world, and now helping others all over with her group Soul Society. You guys are going to love this episode. We talk about dealing with your trauma and how that's the beginning to finding your purpose and truly living the life you really, really want to live. You guys are going to absolutely love it. Now, without further ado, let's get to the episode with Dr. Erin Haskell. Dr. Erin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Justin. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really excited about the conversation. Actually, you were on one of my clients' podcasts, so I heard your story through that. I work with Natalie Jill, and just blown away with your journey, but then also what you've done with your journey. And that's really what this show is all about. It's really the growth people experience, usually from their rock bottom moments and what they've kind of built from there. But why don't we take a minute and you can just kind of introduce yourself to my audience and talk about what you're doing now, and then we'll break down how you got there.
Sure. I love that. So my stage name, if you will, is Dr. Erin. I'm a doctor of divinity, actually, the best kind of doctor, because we reveal through healing. I am founder and TV host of Good Morning LaLa Land and the platform called Soul Society, which is basically a platform that helps develop mostly women in their spiritual leadership. We have men's groups coming out as well, but we're committed to enlightenment, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. And of course, I'm a bestseller author, mother, podcaster, apper, all the above.
All the things, like you
all
do not slow down. There's
I didn't read the book, the one thing. I read it, but I didn't apply it. So.
Clearly, but I love that because you're able to kind of dive into the things you love and explore and experience new things. And, you know, obviously, like you said, you've created this daytime talk show, but then also you're helping people find their purpose. And how do those two even go together? Like, how do you even start to find yourself in these different places?
Yeah. So my one thing, if you will, is really teaching truth. So, you know, coming from I was somebody who was grew up with no guidelines, no rules, kind of chaotic in California. I grew up in somewhat of like a hippie commune. My dad went off and had another family. My mom was she just partied and hung out. I was kind of a mess. I was like, what do I do? What are we doing here? I, felt kind of sad inside. I was pretty on the outside and a wreck inside. I was trying to do things. I couldn't complete things. I was, seeking my fulfillment outside of myself. And for me, when I finally surrendered and really committed to doing my inner work, I basically went into a journey. I had no idea that it was going to give me a life beyond my wildest dreams, just coming to truths. And so my one thing really is just teaching truth and teaching freeing your mind. And so in that, knowing that mission of teaching truth, a show was kind of delivered in my vision of what that was, because I felt like it could mainstream instead of just having a church, preaching. I feel like the younger generations don't really want religion. They want entertainment, but they also want the freedom. So that happened. And then Soul Society is really getting down to have people that really want to embody this work. So they actually go hand in hand.
Yeah, I love that. And so obviously, a lot of times when you look at people's journeys and what they've been through, they have two choices, right? They can play the victim and they can say, I've been through this, woe is me. Or they can say, this happened for me. What does that mean? And I think there's a breakdown a lot of times when people hear that, because I hear people like me or Ed Milet or somebody say, you know, life is happening for you, not to you. But it's hard for them to kind of figure out how or why. Like, how does somebody even begin that journey? Because we haven't even gotten to your rock bottom moment from when you were 22 years old. But like, how do you begin that process of healing in order to say, okay, this is happening for me versus to me? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think always the first step is to decide. And unfortunately, for most of it, it does take a rock bottom. You know, for not everyone, the lucky ones maybe, or not the so lucky ones, because for me, I think I've had multiple like lows. Of course, my stillborn at 22. I had a date rape in high school. I had bulimia from the time I was 17 to 20. I went out with a very advanced drug addict, you know, and that was really low. So, I mean, I think we have multiple lows, you know, and you're constantly deciding again, you know, because there's always the next advancement in knowing that life's working for us and us, not against us. So it's like it gets more advanced,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer that a lot of it happens when it's supposed to be happening.
For sure.
Right.
Divine timing, for sure.
Yeah. Now, when I hear your journey, you're like, okay, like, you know, the date rape or the stillborn at 22 years old, which is still a very, very young age. Like, I'm 34 now and I don't have any kids, and I couldn't even imagine going through that at 34, let alone 22, when I was still trying to figure out my life. But like, how were you able to, in those moments, kind of overcome as it
Right.
life just kept coming at you?
For me, it wasn't in the moment. I think that in the moments when you decide, like you surrender and you go, I don't know how, I don't know what, but I'm going to figure it out. And I'm going to seek truth and seek healing. And then through the process, you know, you don't see it as a blessing when it happens. It's not like in that moment, you're like, oh, I see how it's all working for me. Like, now you got to get down on your knees, beg for mercy, get balled up in your bed, not wanting to live, and then do your work and do your inner trauma work and begin to see through the veil of life. And then you realize, oh, this is all for my awakening.
Mm.
So genius, and it's a twisted cosmic comedian, you know, this life here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So when you talk about going in and doing your inner work, for the people listening that may have heard that term, but don't really know exactly what that means, what does that look like for you? And how can somebody like kind of begin to do that for themselves?
Sure. Well, I've developed a structure called the truth triangle. And after 22 years in the field of really seeking my own healing, as Joseph Campbell says, the student becomes a teacher. So how do you do that? How do you heal? And then how do you reveal your truth and your purpose and calling? And there really is a formula to it. So first, I believe that the most important thing is to do your trauma work. And the reason why is because trauma is not just a car accident or being a war. We all have trauma. We have moments where we have a high state of negative emotion, and we decide something limited about ourselves, about life, or about others. And our subconscious mind is programmed through that high state of vibration and emotion. And then those commands will play out. For example, for me, love equals pain, or I can't do this. These were the commands I had. I'm not enough. And it would play out over and over and over again. So if we want to end the suffering, we first need to understand that our consciousness is creating the circumstances, because beliefs turn into thoughts, which turn into feelings, which turn to emotions, and emotions turn into the circumstances of our life. So we always back it up into the belief, and there's always a lie attached. That's why we say the truth will set you free.
Yeah. I love all of that stuff. And I know a big one for me, a lot when I was growing up, is I'm not enough. And that was something that was kind of reoccurring in my life. And until I addressed why I was feeling that, there was no healing of that. It would ruin every relationship I had. It would ruin everything that I would get myself into. And it was terrible. And it's not an easy journey to, attack those things for yourself, and to really do that work and sit in your pain and sit in the suffering and understand the whys.
And some people will think, well, how would a baby, decide their belief that they are born to a crack addict mom, or how did your belief create having a stillborn? How does my belief create, a drug addict come into my life, whatever that may be, the circumstance of the economy, whatever. But we have to remember that our consciousness is not just an individual consciousness. You're a spiritual being, and your consciousness is connected to the cultural consciousness and the cosmic consciousness. So whatever is happening to us is happening via what we've created as the culmination of consciousness. So we have to really back it up to a responsibility level. It's a level beyond really what we've even thought about of what responsibility is.
Yeah, that's huge. And so like, what does that look like as far as being able to do that work and dive in? Because like when I look at your story, a lot of people that went through what you went through would be like, my life is ruined, it's over. And they kind of, that's that. And then they don't take action. And then they start to hear like your thoughts create your reality. And then it becomes like this woo-woo adventure, but it's really the work you put in. So
I think it's a counterintuitive process. Everyone wants to go out there. It's like having a table, and on the table you think, well, if I just rearrange everything on the table, then the table's going to change. No, the table can't change. You got to get down to the legs and go in and do the work. So I think that people they want more money, or they want a better relationship, or they want, more health or more expression. Those are the 4 legs of the table. Okay. And so instead of going, okay, go out and just get more clients, go get more leads, or, just get on that dating app and go, it has nothing to do with that. You've got to get down to that core belief system. And in doing that core awakening and getting clear of neutralizing your traumas, and in getting clear of what your values are, and birthing your purpose and calling, all of a sudden, everything gets easier. And you don't have to do as much because there's not a lot of doingness. There's a lot of inspired action, and there's a lot of flow that happens once you do that work.
Yeah. And so what were the 4 pillars again? You said emotion.
There's 4 things. There's career and money.
Mm-hmm.
There's relationships and love. There's health and wellness, and there's creative expression.
And do you feel like that's the basis for everybody's life?
Yes.
Okay. And so obviously when we're able to kind of stabilize them, and make sure they're secure, and we know why they are there and why they are built the way they're built, then everything else will kind of make its own way into your life, which I'm a firm believer in that. I haven't made a sales call in over a year, and my business has grown almost 300% in the last calendar year, which is kind of crazy.
Wow. Fascinating, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy because when I tried and I didn't have my shit figured out, it was like nobody wanted to work with me. It's very, very weird how it's like almost reverse. Like people think they're going to get that stuff and then the rest is going to be kind of figured out. So what can somebody do? I think self-awareness is tough. I think it's really hard for people to realize a lot of these things to even begin the process. So how do we begin the self-awareness process? I don't even know if you have an answer.
So the logical mind, you can try and figure anything out, and you can go, oh, I'm just going to be positive, or I'm just going to know that it all worked for me. But that's a bunch of crap, because really the subconscious is working 98% of our functions is working from the subconscious. Thank goodness. Otherwise we'd be a disaster. We wouldn't get anything done. Right. Yeah. So we know that all lineage and the epigenetics, that all memory of all lifetimes is in our DNA. So we got to deal with the subconscious. So if you want to have success, you want to have better, family situations, you want to have better love, you want to have whatever it is, you've got to deal with your subconscious. And you've got to deal, number 1, with trauma. So trauma can be done many different ways. You can go to a cognitive therapist, you can do EMDR, you can do cognitive therapy, you can work with somebody like me or my group that does, we do past life stuff as well, because a lot of trauma comes from that. But you've got to deal with trauma. Number 1 thing for everyone. I wish the entire world, if there's one thing I wish for the world, it's that everyone would deal with their trauma. Yeah.
And you mentioned past lives, and I want to go down that corridor a little bit, just because not everybody talks about that all the time. It can be a taboo subject for a lot of people, but there's clearly, because we are energy, right? There's clearly some residual pain there. Can we talk about that a little bit? Like, what does that even look like? Because people think, oh, I used to be a whale or something. Like that's not necessarily.
Yeah, you don't have to even believe in past life, but look, the memory is in the DNA. There's a reason why, your muscles know what to do, your organs know what to do, because it is a memory, and that memory, all the good, bad, whatever. Why are we afraid of a snake when we've never been bit by a snake? It's from the memory. There's memory there. Okay. So you don't have to believe in past life. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean I was a butterfly or a whale and now I'm this. It's called our DNA. Yeah. So you can say whatever. The point is, when we get into past life, this is what I know. and why I feel like it is a benefit for people to get in there, because there are archetypes. There's things that happen and we're playing it out in that memory. So oftentimes when we're dealing with birthing someone's purpose and calling, a lot of the reason of the why is from the suffering of this lifetime and past lifetime. And that's what births your purpose and calling, because there's a reason why you feel so passionate about making a difference in a certain area. And until you get kind of in tune with why, what is your why? As we know, that's such an important thing, as Simon Sinek and Apple's talk so much about, and all this is, that's your why. And your why comes from your past. Your past is one of your greatest assets. Your story is the greatest thing you have.
Yeah, it's so funny. So I'm listening as I'm trying to mute my microphone. Did you hear the thunder at all?
Oh no.
Oh, okay, good. I just didn't know if you're picking it up. But you're 100% right. Like, I think that when you figure out your why, all of a sudden happiness starts to get unlocked. And so many people kind of go through life and they're just kind of lost a little bit, right? And they therefore they're unhappy, and all the other things kind of happen beyond that, and then they become the victim, and the trauma that's happening gets worse and worse and worse. So
I like to call it fulfillment instead of happiness, because there's days I'm not necessarily happy, but I'm fulfilled and I keep going because I'm on a mission-based life. Fulfillment versus happy. Happy can come and go.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that word, and I love what you're all about. And when I look at what you do, right, best-selling author, host of a popular television show, all the things. Why did you start Soul Society?
Soul Society, it's one word. I know it's hard to pronounce. Because I had been working with one-on-ones for a long time. I'd worked with celebrities. I'd worked with CEOs. I'd worked with single moms. And I needed to do that. And I'm sure as an entrepreneur, that there's a reason why we nail and scale in our business. Because when you work one-on-one with clients, it's really working through your framework. It's working through what works and doesn't work. And then when you get really masterful at that, then we take a gradient. And we do that in all areas of our life as entrepreneurs. We don't want to get way ahead of ourselves and get overwhelmed. We want to keep it really simple. So for me, Soul Society was something that was brewing in me for long. I knew that Soul Society would be birthed at some point in time. It's really the biggest legacy, the biggest baby that I want to leave this lifetime. But it took many years of working one-on-one to master the processes, master the trauma work, master the past lives, master helping someone birth their values, commitments, and their purpose and calling. And once I was so firm in the work, then Soul Society came about, which is really the membership and the community and everything else that goes along with it.
Yeah, I love that. And that's obviously, that's actually a process that I'm in the middle of right now. Working with one-on-one clients to then scaling it and kind of growing it, because I think that is the trajectory, right? And like for me, at least, it's tied to my purpose of impacting as many lives as possible. And if I can do that on a larger scale, because our time is, limited. No matter what we do, our time is limited. We only have 24 hours in a day. And I love that. So why is it so important? And I know it's been your personal journey, but why is it so important for you to help other people through this journey? Other than you just figuring out on your own and then going and being successful in the other businesses.
Yeah. For me, my why is actually that little girl, myself at 22 years old, sitting in the dark mortician's room down in a basement all alone with no answers. And, I truly believe that whatever we go through, whatever that dark night of the soul is, that's ours to do. And so if I touch one life or I touch 1 billion lives, I feel like I can, on my deathbed, say I did what I was here to do. And so for me, it's not just about, me becoming some public figure and being that person out there teaching and, enlightenment, empowerment. It's about giving that away. I truly believe we can't have anything in this universe unless we give it away. So if we want love, we have to give love away. If we want money, we have to give value away. If we want to have enlightenment, we have to help others reach enlightenment. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I love all that stuff. I mean, that's really, really important. And like, if people hear that message, they understand it. How do they get involved with that society? I usually wait till the end to do this, but I feel like this is the perfect.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah. I think for most people, no one wants to be sold. I think you can engage. You can come to the podcast, Dr. Erin podcast. I do lives every day on IGTV. I have a book that comes with 40 guided meditations and a digital masterclass. You can do whatever. Just check it out and have fun. And then we do have events, but they're only in LA right now. We're going to be launching in New York, but you don't have to live in LA to be involved. It's mostly all online, our stuff. And we come together. It's so much fun, Justin, because we come together. Like I come 3 times a week together with my group, which is really unheard of when you hear about. It's a lot. most leaders and stuff, they come together once a month or every couple of weeks with their group. I just really feel like it's my community, it's my inner circle, and they're my greatest assets because they're learning and embodying this work. And so we want to surround ourselves with people that have the same consciousness and that raise us up. And so it's really important to get grounded in truth. So for me, we do that. We come together in truth once a week with universal law, spiritual work, subconscious work. We come together once a week in business stuff and in eight pillars. I teach everything because I've been a self-made millionaire since I was 30. And
Wow.
then we come together in developing the ambassadors and taking events, and they're speaking and all this stuff out to the world.
Yeah. And so I think it says on your website, and quote, tell me if I'm wrong, but it says something about becoming a self-made millionaire, but not feeling fulfilled even at that moment.
I will never forget. I remember I was in a jet and I literally was looking out the window and I was looking down at, like, it's almost like there's like little squares everywhere. You know, when you're going over farmland or if you're going over a city, the homes, you know, everything's square. It's like we're all in these boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here I had reached being a self-made millionaire. I had a 7,400 square foot home. My son I had a son, he's fine. And I had a double life. I was still doing all my spiritual work in one area of my life when I had every free moment. And then I was doing, buying and fixing up homes and investing and stuff. And I just thought, there's just got to be more. Like, there's just got to be more to this. And that's really when I handed my life over to say, this is what I really want to do. And I don't care. I care about the money, but I don't care. It's not the most important thing. And I had to, as Joseph Campbell says again, sacrifice and bliss. You know, there's something to always sacrifice because there's something that we only have so much energy. We have to direct it, just like you said. We only have so much time in the day, and we have to choose what's important to us. And in that value system, for me, was handing my life over to the work.
I love that. And so obviously you're somebody who's extremely busy. Like, you have so many things going on. I don't know how you're doing it. It's crazy.
I don't either, honestly.
So one question I like to ask everybody, because I have the opportunity in this platform to speak with very, very successful people, however you want to define success. So my question for you is, what is your definition of success? And what are 3 things you do every single day to ensure that success for yourself?
Sure. So my definition of success was given to me by my son. And because I asked him, what do you think success is? He said, doing what, when I want, with who I want. That's it. Right.
Love it.
I think there's ethics to this universe, though. I think to be successful, you need to bring harmony. So I think that there's contingencies upon being fulfilled, in my opinion, around it. For me, 3 things I do a day. I always get my sleep. My sleep is probably the most important thing to me. I used to meditate every single day for many, many hours. But now I broke to a place where I can kind of meditate in the middle of everything. So I don't have to sit down as much as I used to.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I get out of balance, you know, to be frank. Like right now, I feel a little bit like I can tell when I'm out of balance. I look at it like it's a gradient. So for me, when I'm really in balance, there's a huge creative factor. I wake up inspired, like I bounce out of bed at 4:00 in the morning, that flow of creativity is going. It's like, and sometimes when that creativity goes down, or it could get really bad and I could get like feeling even down, I know it's because I'm out of balance. So for me, it's like finding that, and the universe or our subconscious mind has a way of doing that anyway. It'll get us sick. It'll make us get depressed. So we have to take the time. It'll do it anyway. So you either proactively do it or it's going to do it for you anyway. So just finding the balance.
Yeah. So you had mentioned you're opening up Soul Society to men, and you're coming to New York. And was this always part of the plan, or are you just kind of listening to what people want?
I'm listening. And it's so amazing, Justin, what's happened, because I've taught universal law and, law of attraction, I think, for years. And we know there's like a flow, and we know there's like the art of allowing and receiving, but I've never experienced it like I am now. Like Soul Society, we've had I want to give a shout out to Kimpton Lapeer in West Hollywood. We now pay some for our venue there, but they gave us our venues for like months there because they loved what we were doing.
Wow.
Mike Young did the website for us and logos. Everything's been given because it was like the universe wanted this to happen. Same with Good Morning LaLa Land. I walked in for an interview at EverTalk TV, which is EverTalk TV now. And the producer was like, just go ahead. I never, it was like, okay, let's just create this thing. It was like everything's been given. And so I do feel like there is a place where you really truly embody it. If you embody it and you really, really believe and you really embody it, it literally shows up. Like it literally does.
Yeah.
So it's getting into that flow. It's getting that flow state. Most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that way like with my event, which the first year was like a sold out event in Reading, Pennsylvania, which is not easy to get to. And everything kind of fell in line. And I believe it's
Mhm.
because I'm in flow and I'm
Yes.
doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And there's a purpose behind it other than, hey, let's make some money. And everything kind of falls in line. And I love that. And it's so true. And it sounds so ridiculous. But it happens. Like I remember
It's
hearing
so true.
for years, like, oh, just, live in it, visualize it, whatever, and then it'll happen. I'm like, bullshit. And then it started to happen, and I was like,
Mhm.
this is crazy.
I know.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
it's absolutely insane. But I mean, I love what you're all about, and I love the fact that everything you do has an impact and a purpose and a mission. Do you feel like that's who you are, or who you had to become?
I think it's a core value of mine. So everyone has different core values. Some people's core value is hanging out and having fun with their friends or family. There's different core values. One of my core, I'm like a archetype warrior.
Hmm.
So I am very much driven by mission, and that is what drives me growth and evolution. So not everybody's like that. And I don't think it's better or worse. I think that we all have our place in the organism of the human race. And so I think it's important for everyone to listen to who they are and not try and model after me or anyone else. It's really about you getting in tune with yourself and realizing that you're perfect exactly as you are. And there's people that I need support, and we build teams around the different types of people. If everyone's just type A and the warrior like me, it's not going to work out very well. We need to have the lover, and we need to have the magician, and we need to have all those different aspects of us.
Yeah, for sure. And so you talk about evolution and growth. So what's next for you? Is there more that you can add to the plate, or what else are you working on?
That's a great question. I'm trying to work on working on less. You know what I mean? Like simplifying so that you can master it.
Yeah.
And there's always more, of course. I mean, it's in my blood. I don't think I would have ever been able to imagine that I would even be where I'm at now. So what's interesting is that I don't really get excited about like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then it's going to be this fabulous thing, or I'm going to create the next, New York Times bestseller or something like that. I don't get excited about that. Honestly, what I get excited about is being present right here, and being in that flow right here, and having the magic of right here. That's pretty much the only thing that I get excited about.
Yeah. I love the fact that you balance the spiritual and the entrepreneurship so well. I think sometimes you see somebody so far on the spiritual side or so far on the business side that there's no peace and harmony. It's almost like battling with themselves. And I see it on both sides through people that I've interviewed and just people I've met in this world. So when you look at your life and everything that you've been through, I'm always curious to how people feel the entrepreneurial mindset of like, are you born that way, or did you learn the skills you had to learn? And I
I
think
believe
that,
I believe that we're born that way. So we have different character traits, and that's part of being, someone who teaches businesses. You need to understand your type, right? So there's things like Colby. There's different personality tests, so we need to understand what those are. So in like Colby that I use a lot, there is the innovator. There's the detail person, there's the implementer, and there's the fact finder. Okay, I'm an innovator, right? So I believe we're kind of born how we are again. So I think you can get developed as an entrepreneur, but I think that not everybody's meant for that, that lots of people need to find the perfect partner. And I've seen a company go from 400 employees to 200 employees by people teaming up with their opposite. So I have like details I don't do well. It sucks my energy. I
yeah,
don't like following through. It's really easy for me to start projects, but then to actually, automate them and do all that. Like, could somebody pull my tooth out right now?
yeah,
So
I'm the
we
same
have to
way.
understand again, know thyself, and you'll know the whole universe, and you'll be set free. So it's important to know who we are and know who we're not, know what we're not good at.
Yeah, I love that. So if you could give anybody listening right now one word of advice to begin living in their purpose, what would that be?
I would say do your trauma work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll
Mhm.
add to that. It's not easy, but it's well worth it, when you go through that work. Because after the sun is on the other side of that, I promise. It's unbelievable how it opens up. So obviously I wrap up all these podcasts with 5 rapid fire questions. But before I get there, how do people get a hold of you? Where do they find you? What's the best place? Where do you hang out online? All that fun stuff.
Sure. All social media is drerin.tv, which is DRERIN.tv. It's very simple. And then you can go that same website, and that defaults to soulciety.com, and then erinfallhaskell.com and goodmorninglalaland.com. So you can check out Good Morning LaLa Land at 9 to 10. We go live every day, Monday through Friday, on all socials and Roku and Apple. And then I'm doing Girl Church right now on Tuesdays at Lapeer, but we're going to month. So we don't know where that's going to be. We just flow with that. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love that. So we're going to get into the 5 rapid fire questions. Some are fun, some are serious. I just
Cool.
Answer within one word or at the most one sentence. Are you ready?
No, just kidding.
The first one is, what's your favorite smell?
I guess all the aromatic essential oils, the lavender.
Love it. So if you could have dinner with one person, living or dead, who would it be?
My son.
Love that. Absolutely love that. At the end of your life, if you can only be remembered for one sentence, what would that sentence be?
Truth.
If you're on death row at the end of your life, what would be your last meal?
It would be the breath of air. That would be my meal.
Awesome. And obviously this podcast is called The Growth Now Movement. So I wrap up every single episode with this one question. And that is, in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
Biggest moment of growth. I think it's just literally just when you stare, I remember a moment just staring at myself in the mirror. In fact, I remember very specifically and saying to myself, you're either going to be your best friend or you're not. You're either going to love yourself unconditionally, no matter what, no matter if you're, pretty or, not, or have money or not, or old or young or whatever. You're in a relationship, not in a relationship, and having that talk with myself and committing to be my own best friend.
That's beautiful. Dr. Erin, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with my audience. But not only that, just doing what you do every single day to impact the world in such a positive way. It's a message that's needed. And you're truly, truly on the way to your goal of reaching billions of people. And just thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all your work. Amazing. I love all your work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Growth Now movement. This is how you can really help me out. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And let's grow this movement to epic heights. And it's all going to be because of you guys. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next week.